Next up, we have another panel on the future of privacy. Well, I say another, that's not strictly true. It's another panel on privacy, but we haven't spoken too much about the future yet. So I'd like to welcome the host of this event and also the moderator for this panel, Eleonore, who will take it from here.
I wanted to make sure that we would wrap this event by talking about privacy. I know we talked a lot about it over the last few days, but I think it was important to gather all of us one last time. So please welcome to the stage Serinko from LunarDAO, Lefteris from rotki, Adam from Aleph, and Kieran from RAILGUN. We actually have more privacy content this afternoon, which was kind of a last-minute add-up considering what happened last night with Tornado Cash. So at 3 p.m. we'll have a Tornado Cash exploit presentation, so the schedule has been updated. But in the meantime, we will still talk about the future of privacy with all of you privacy builders. Yeah, please introduce yourself maybe and share what you're working on today.
Hello. Hey, I'm Serinko. I come from LunarDAO. Quickly, LunarDAO is like this double-edged sword when one side is an investment fund in the privacy solutions, and that's not something I will be talking about so much. No financial advice in here. And the second side is education/research, which you can find on wiki.lunardao.net, and that will be the part I'll be focusing on and coming from more than the venture part. I just want to say, disclaimer, LunarDAO is a DAO, as the name says, so I cannot represent the decentralized community. Neither I'm not the founder of the DAO. I'm a researcher, which is helping the community find some of the primitives and the solutions. And from that position, I'll be speaking on that stage.
Do you also have mics? Here, one here.
Hey, hello. So I'm Lefteris. I'm the founder of rotki. We are a portfolio tracking and accounting tool that is built with privacy in mind, and the main thing that we define as privacy for this is a local application that stores all your data locally and doesn't share it with any centralized servers. I will be speaking with my co-panelists about privacy and how we see it as something that should be used in building any kind of application nowadays.
Hi, I'm Kai. I'm co-founder of RAILGUN DAO. RAILGUN is a protocol for adding privacy features to wallets on Ethereum and other EVM chains. A long-time privacy advocate, a bit pragmatic about the present, but optimistic about the future.
Hey, I'm Adam. I'm cryptographer and co-founder of Aleph. We're layer 1 blockchain focusing on privacy framework and building private DeFi. And I guess I'll try to talk about user experience of privacy protocols.
Yeah, thank you all for being here and for being part of this event, gathering privacy builders. Before we dive into the future, what is the current state of privacy in crypto? I know we've mentioned that we're in a phase now where we have to fight. Do you agree with this statement? Where are we at right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So the current state of privacy in crypto, it's a mess. People don't think about privacy at all. I believe we have some tools. They are being criminalized and hunted. There are ways around this, but I think that the biggest thing that we have to fight for is user education and explaining that privacy is not a given, and that just by using crypto, it's like you are showing your entire transaction history to well, everybody in the world, especially like this crypto Twitter things like, oh, you know, drop your ENS here or drop your address here. It's like, thanks, I'm gonna just gather all of that and put it in my nice script, and then I have a nice graph of all of your transactions and anybody that you have interacted with. But my co-panelists are actually working on tools that will help with that, and I think that they can speak better to it.
Yeah, that was literally the panel before us, right? This Web3 data gold rush. And we're now following this with a privacy panel. I think it's a good contradiction here, where all of this data that you mentioned is being farmed and being used. What can we do better? You're all builders, privacy builders. What does it look like in the future? Or is this just how it's going to continue?
I think one of the things was already touched upon, and there is a lack of education in a space. Generally, there's like people who've been having deep expertise, and it's really difficult to ever get to that level or to a level of understanding as the space is also growing. But it's not only education on being experts, but education on understanding generally what we are doing. I think crypto is, the privacy problem is just like a part of general problem, and the problem is that crypto is by and large becoming corrupted. It's becoming more and more trying as an industry being just like a copy of the TradFi thing. We can never go that way. We can never win that way. It's like running against the wall. And I think, so education needs to be also on a side of understanding why is crypto out there and in which things is actually distinct, different from the TradFi, and that's fine. We shouldn't be better in what TradFi is doing. We should be better alternative to TradFi. And I think that understanding is missing, as well as what full privacy stack means. We talked about it before, and how to, for like new users, how to protect themselves and why to protect themselves. I think these are like some important challenges which we have to even begin with to start to go deeper into, or like side by side, by making like more people being like experts and leaders in industry, and not like, and actually decentralize that by decentralizing knowledge and not only have a name of decentralized something, decentralized chain, decentralized organization or something.
You mentioned the full stack privacy. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think, so we've got a number of privacy protocols building in the crypto space. And I think they're all kind of targeting different aspects or different areas of the crypto space where usage is. And the vast majority of usage in crypto is fully public. And the stuff that is private kind of just uses maybe one or two of maybe like their favorite privacy protocols or something, but that doesn't necessarily think about like end-to-end privacy. I think that might actually be a failure of us here as builders.
The shaming panel.
Myself included, right? I'll own it. That we're not working together to kind of build the stuff out so that, okay, sure, maybe someone uses a private wallet, but that's useless if they go and use some like accounting software that just tracks all of their wallet data and like, sells that off. Like the fact that they're using a private wallet is useless, right? And so, we got rotki here. I think we need to do better as builders to work together to enable all of these individual solutions that we're building to kind of work more harmoniously. And so even the people that are trying to use privacy tools and trying to be responsible and just failing for lack of a good ecosystem, right? We can start to enable privacy for them, and then hopefully for the wider user base of crypto as a whole.
Okay, so I'm hearing more education, better building. So will the future of privacy be more resilient? What does it look like?
I think I would like to relate to what was said before about both education and the need to educate people that they need privacy. So I don't think I agree with that.
Less education.
No.
Less privacy.
Yeah, more privacy. I don't agree with the fact that users don't want their privacy. For example, I know multiple users that are concerned about backtracking their transfers on Ethereum. And by far, the most popular solution they use is sending transfers from centralized exchanges. Because it's simple. Everyone have accounts on one of them. Yeah. And, well, at least your friends cannot track you back then. And this is horrible. I mean, it shows...
I hope that's not the future, because we failed. If that's the future...
But it shows one interesting thing, which is that people do care about privacy. And the problem is not that they absolutely don't care about it. The problem is that the current privacy, the actual privacy protocols are really hard to use. You need to download a lot of data from chain to actually even be able to make a transaction. You need to compute some expensive proof on your machine. It takes longer time. It takes way more space. And you need to synchronize with blockchain every time you kind of like log in. This is very, very cumbersome. So, but I'm not like surprised that people right now are using more centralized exchanges than well, like proper anonymizers. I hope that future like will change something in this very basic way of like how simple can it be to make a private transaction. And unfortunately, academically, like these are very hard cryptographic problems to be solved. So I hope the future is where we can easily have a smartphone applications which doesn't like bloat our entire machine and just make transactions.
Do you think that can be done? It seems like there's a lot of hurdles right now to be fully private, or do you think it's actually pretty easy? Or should we alleviate a little bit the burden on the users?
Yeah, so I don't think that we need to be fully private. Like the privacy is not a black or white thing. So Adam mentioned the exchanges that you can use to, well, anonymize sort of a transaction. Even that, unfortunately, has become difficult because many exchanges have closed the creation of new deposit addresses, and they have done it also some in a sneaky way. In that, so I have actually doxed a wallet by mistake because I didn't realize that the deposit address was old or something like that. So if I can make a mistake doing something like that, then I really think that we are screwed. Like, but I really think that having even that as a tool and asking exchanges, like really pressing them to have this as a right. You should never force me to reuse an address for a deposit. Even that is a really, really big step because I don't make privacy infrastructure. I cannot speak to that, but having the options is what really should be there. And again, education, because if user doesn't know what they may do by just depositing from a different, like it's so easy. Like you just make a mistake, you just deposit. Yeah, we'll deposit, I don't know, my DAI to Kraken from this address, and it's like, wait, isn't this the same address that I used with my public one? Oh, yeah, shit. So that means that I'm doxed, and this is very, very easy to happen. Perhaps we need better tools for that.
I think the question whether privacy should be full or not maybe can be driven a little bit towards like, where are we starting from? Are we starting from here, we want to reach privacy? Or actually, I mean, ETHDam, we speak about Ethereum, but perhaps isn't a solution to find a place when privacy is not 100% and for sure always, but it's by default, and it's optional. And this anonymity and privacy being optional by default can be by user chosen whether that's gonna be disclosed, the data is gonna be disclosed or not, or some information, metadata, or what have you. And I think that change of paradigm, not only on transaction, like everything's transparent and then we hide sometimes, like we mix some transactions, but on a level of communication, where community is, where we chatting, what kind of tools we using. There was an NIM presentation yesterday when connecting to the internet itself, when like being online and in crypto space. So I think that needs like a completely new paradigm, and that's, I think, misconception on Lunarpunk is like, oh, we want just like a privacy and anonymity only, and we all have to like wear masks when we meet each other. That's not about it, right? It's about what's the default and what options do users have in their hands, rather who decides that for them, and or how much they have to do in order to get to that anonymous level. Because if we have here a dev, a cryptographer who struggles with that, then we have a wrong default. You know, that's the problem there. So I think we should turn around the paradigm and where we're starting from, and also not have that misconception of like, oh, you want privacy only and always and forever, we're gonna like lose the human part of that. That's not about that. In fact, when we have that protection around us, we can be much more human to each other, just like you are with your family or with your close ones when you are in, you know, those setups, because you know that you're actually not sitting in a TV right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess like the kind of user experience issues with privacy, or at least being able to do it right, is sure, like privacy tools exist, right? Like we have a panel here building it, but I think a lot of the issues with the user experience and actually trying to stay properly private is you're using these tools in isolation in an environment that is actively hostile to privacy. And so, you know, you've got this one aspect where you are able to maintain privacy, but, you know, everything else that you interact with from there is just working to erode away at that little, you know, cordon of privacy that you have. And, you know, that extends out from, you know, not just the crypto space, right? Like, a lot more in life, or just, you know, technology. We've kind of built a lot of the systems that we use, like the internet, the kind of platforms that we post on and communicate on. All of these things are kind of built as actively hostile to privacy. And so I think we need to start thinking about how do we kind of bring these other or other platforms, maybe not, you know, force them to become privacy tools in themselves, but you know, not be like kind of designed around destroying privacy, if you will.
So on the data panel just earlier, they mentioned that that Web3 today has a large part of it is centralized. Is that something that we should call out more? Call them out, and because maybe if we talk more about it, then users can also know more about it. What's missing right now, and how can we work towards that? Okay, you seem very passionate.
Yeah, so data and history availability in Web3, basically, in mostly Ethereum, that's where I can speak to. So yeah, that's a very, 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 very big problem. We are designing towards a crypto history that is going to end up completely centralized under huge indexers. There is no good way around this, and the protocol is unfortunately not thinking about this at all. Like, I mean, Peter from Gith was speaking the other day in Twitter saying, who would mind if we just remove archive mode from Gith? So there is a big push towards taking all data outside. I can speak to that as someone who is building an app trying to gather this data and process it for individual addresses for a user. And having started with the idea, okay, I am a user that has his own node, I run it, and I will pull all of the data from my own node, an archive node, say. That is impossible, and that is getting worse and worse. Like now with the withdrawals, for example, they are not, there's something special. You need an indexer, like Beacon Chain only can give that to you, the beaconchain.in. Someone who does a lot of work towards this is Jay, sitting right there. He's building TrueBlocks. So TrueBlocks is an indexer that can run locally on your machine along with the node, and actually answer the one question that we unfortunately need an indexer for. So this is my address, give me all of my transaction hashes. The fact that by running a node we still can't do that, to me it's crazy. And if you take this and push it towards the future, imagine that there is no true blocks, that there is only centralized indexers, then they become gatekeepers. And in the beginning, they are free. It's like they are all VC funded, all like really well free. You say, OK, we get used to this. This is how the protocol works. And then suddenly, pop, they close it. And they say, well, I mean, how much data do you consume? How much do you need? This is like, you now need to pay for this data. But I'm running my own node. I should be able to get this data. No, 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 no. We are now the gatekeepers. You can pay by credit card. So it's easy. Don't worry. And this is a future that I'm really afraid of, and I would really like to actively fight against.
For those that are watching the stream, Thomas from TrueBlocks actually did a workshop this morning, which is available as well to rewatch and learn from. So thank you for bringing that up. I think you wanted to react as well.
Yeah, so what is missing, in my opinion, is business case. Right now, the probably most popular business model in the internet is running ads. And to run good ads, you need to target them well. And to target them well, you need a lot of user data. So if we would make internet private, I guess there would be people who would be happy about it, although like all the major services would lose an almost entire business model. And unfortunately, it seems to me, at least, that majority of the general internet crowd is used to things in the internet being for free, in the sense that well, there is no direct payment for Facebook and other big platforms. So it would be very hard to change this particular ad model into like prescription model in case of regular popular services. So what's the solution? I'm not sure. I guess maybe it may sound stupid, but some kind of ZK ads where like data are not directly gathered, but there is some way of targeting advertisement to some users, which gives some permissions. Well, sounds very futuristic. Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest problems for Web 2. Like why Web 2 is not private more than it is. So like that's why.
Well, I wanted to make sure that Web 3 we would. I keep having this conversation at meetups where people are like, "Oh, Web 3 is, well, it's it's same as Web 2, but it's with crypto." I'm like, no, it's also about these fundamentals, right? It's Web 3, but it's this cypherpunk future where we own our data, where it's decentralized, and where it's censorship resistance. It's not just sort of a decentralized Facebook. I want more than that. And it's on you guys here on this panel to build it, work together, build better projects or products where we can seamlessly go from one to the next. From what I understand, have a full privacy stack, have more education. I'll handle a little bit of that. But how can you work more towards this together? Not just on crypto Twitter. Like, do you think that events like this help actually to build this better future?
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks for putting this event on. Yeah, no, I think, okay. I have noticed, interactions with people on Twitter or just generally online tend to be very different to interactions in person. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. So, one of them is, maybe like the limitations on like the length of the content and ease of communication. But I think a lot of it actually is just the fact that communication on Twitter is so open, right? That it's very difficult to keep discussions, on track, because anyone can jump in and just derail it. Post some meme coin and whatever. I don't know, but. So I think events like this, just in person, having people that are just.
Sorry, a kitty cat just showed up in the front row. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just having these kind of events in person and having this opportunity for people that are building these tools and trying to better the ecosystem, just to have a space to. Just step back from the computer for a while, talk to other people, right? Share frustrations, problem solve together, and go back and be more excited about building things. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's to get people more excited about building, but also without scaring them into a chilling effect and jailing them. So it's like that cusp where we're at, where it's like work on privacy, build on privacy. But then, of course, here in the Netherlands, we've had 10 months of a terrible chilling effect. Maybe you'd like to talk on that.
Yeah, maybe I'll touch on that a little bit. We talk about it with Mikola off the record before, and I would like to bring that in connection to yesterday's discussions, which was going on here, and connects to the future. LunarDAO runs this thing, this Twitter space is called Lunarpunk Future, but no pun there, but check it out. There's been a talk about the fear and how the scaring strategy is not working, and how it's needed more of like put privacy into this unicornish kind of vibes and stuff. I think it touches more like on, not only on privacy, but also in general, like what is privacy for and what we want, right? Like we, in Lunar at least, like building towards like tool structures and culture, especially towards more freedom, right? Privacy is just part of that. And I think that's a large part of like why crypto's there. Create more freedom and more autonomy and more sovereignty for people. And that drives back when you look on a cypherpunk, there is some solutions, and there is this like the world's burning as the dystopia, but individuals have their solutions how to like arm themselves in this general dystopia. And then you have solarpunk when you see a lot of this like glittery, very colorful, but sometimes almost like naive approach to utopia, in my opinion. So I don't think it's neither or the two. And I think it is important to understand the critiques the cypherpunks were bringing and the reality, because we live in the reality. Like if we look and only here on the Alex Pertsev case, or 115 countries like working on CBDCs, that's a dystopian nightmare. And that's a reality, so I don't think we should hide people from that reality. Neither we shouldn't see it as a way we're scaring them. I think it's given the information, because with that information we are much more armed towards creating the world we want based on those analyses. And I think that's the important part as well, to actually bring that hope through actual solutions and through actual proposals. So we're not ending up on total dystopian and fear, but because that didn't work, let's not talk about it at all, and we're just gonna be a naive, kind of like utopian. That's where Lunarpunk comes into play, where we bring in analysis of reality and critique to how things actually work, while not falling into like a dystopian nightmare, but bringing, like a positive imagination and real solutions to that. And I think whether we gonna call it one way or the other, I don't think we should like box. Not everyone has to march under like a Lunarpunk umbrella, but that approach I think is important to not to always like have, one or the other, but understand that they inform each other, and we should build towards better future while keeping the users and the community informed about what's actually happening.
Thank you. We're reaching towards the end of this panel. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask, you can use Slido, but maybe a final remark on the future of privacy.
Yeah, so for my point of view, like from the point of view of someone building a tool that also touches on privacy, we are not a privacy tool, we're not building something that is completely focusing on privacy. I think that you should say that privacy is giving the option to the user. So it's not either full paranoia, like completely offline, somehow you calculate everything and you, I don't know, like bring on the data with a USB stick. But it's to give the user the option to maintain their privacy on various different levels, like keep your history locally, do not connect only to one centralized RPC, connect to multiple, connect to your own node. So all of these are different options that you can give to a user in order to maintain their privacy. So what I would like people at home to think of what privacy is it's not a black or white thing. So for example, when they say, there are people out there who say, yeah, you know, like there is portfolio trackers and portfolio trackers. There is zero and there is upper, there is debunk, and well, if you care about privacy, you can just use rotki. This is a silly way of looking at things. Everyone should make privacy a part of their application. So rotki has a lot more things other than privacy, but we have this focus on it too. But every app should be focusing on privacy. It shouldn't be, okay, we have private apps and non-private apps. Privacy should be something that every developer works on, is what my message would be.
Maybe they'll talk about it in the next panel coming up. I'm looking at you three UI UX over there. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, I guess just my thoughts are kind of similar to Lefteris as well. You know, not everyone can or should be a privacy developer. I mean, I get it. It's a difficult thing to build, right? This technology is difficult, and it's time consuming. And you know, like you're not like your use case isn't privacy. It's whatever your use case is, right? But yeah, you know, there are people building good privacy infrastructure, and so just be mindful of your choices on, you know, how you build your application, what RPCs you use, you know, what wallets you're using, what networks you're using, and you know, if you have the option to use something that's more private, please use it.
So I think optimistic enough and still realistic vision of where we could end up with privacy is similar to what happened with messengers, like online. So by far, it's not a standard that common population is using private messengers. They're using usually like Facebook Messenger or some other public applications. But I think majority of population is aware of Signal, so in case they actually need it, they can relatively easily send a private message. So like my hope would be that privacy in crypto will look this way. So I'm not optimistic enough to believe that like really everyone will be using private wallet. No, that's not gonna happen. Or like that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Like the realistically optimistic vision is that everyone will be able to quickly Google what's the easy to use privacy like wallet they can download, and like in case they need that, they can just do it.
All right, I guess time will tell. I hope the future for myself, our children, and the rest of the world actually lives up to the cypherpunk values. Thank you so much for this conversation. Shout out to this kitty cat in the front row. Wow. Thank you, everyone. And thank you.